Happy Tuesday to you, July 16th. It's time for another Gov Talk here on the Leader, 98.7 AM 1580 WLIJ. Our very own Mr. Scott Johnson hanging out today in Studio B with President and CEO of the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership, Mr. Shane Hooper. Without further ado, fellas, take it away.
Thank you, producer Brandon. This is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting in Shelbyville, Tennessee, Bedford County, about 50 miles south of Nashville, 25 miles south of Murfreesboro, in the lovely rolling and kind of green and brown hills of southern middle Tennessee. It's that time of the month where we have the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership President and CEO Shane Hooper in here to talk about a plethora of things going on in economic development and workforce development and other nonprofit things. Good morning, Shane.
Good morning, Scott. I want to say thank you for all that you do and WLIJ and Hopkins Farms Broadcasting for the opportunity here in Studio B today.
Absolutely. I know you've got a whole laundry list of issues to talk about today, and I think the first one, what a fantastic initiative, because I think a lot of times people forget, at least the ones that live in the city maybe, I don't know, but out in the county, that what a large presence agriculture has here in Bedford County. And that's an economic development issue, right?
Absolutely. Agriculture represents a large portion of what makes this our local economy work. So we wanted to make sure that we're always looking out and being observant and looking at our programming to make sure that we're doing things that are going to help the community. And one of the things we noted was the number one ranking of Bedford County when it came to the 95 counties of agriculture in the state of
Say that again, Shane.
Bedford County is the number one agricultural county in the state of Tennessee.
Yes, we are.
95 counties, we are number one. And I did pull a couple of things that I thought would be of interest.
And when you say that, I mean, that's data-driven.
Yes.
That's not our opinion.
No, that's not our opinion. That is data from the state of Tennessee. When the Ag Department does their data collection, this is their information.
So I'm assuming that we have where are we at, say, with like livestock or poultry and things like that?
So it's interesting to note that we're actually number one in livestock, poultry, and products. We're also number one in poultry and eggs. We're number one in horses, ponies, mules, burros, and donkeys. We're number two in what's called other animals, animal products, cattle and calves, other crops and hay. And then we're number four when it comes to milk from cows. We're number 6 in aquaculture, and we're number 10 in sheep, goats, wool, mohair, and milk.
I mean, basically, we're in the top 10 in everything.
Yes. Actually, some people say that when the new numbers come out, Bedford County may slide a little bit. But even if we slide to number 9, as what some people are predicting, we're still going to be inside the top 10. And for Bedford County to be inside the top 10 of something as significant in the state of Tennessee as agriculture will still be a very noteworthy accomplishment.
Over the years, Shane, I've visited different economic development offices in other counties just as kind of a benchmark and see how they're doing. I may have forgotten, but I don't remember a single economic development office that actually had initiatives geared towards agriculture. But you guys do.
We do. And, like we said, when you look around and you look at Bedford County and who we are and where we have our opportunities to be successful, overlooking agriculture would be one of those, that would be a misstep. That would be an oversight to not include economic development, not include agriculture in our economic development portfolio. Most towns and cities and other counties, they don't have what we have here in Bedford County. So this is somewhat of a unique opportunity. You don't find agriculture as an initiative in most economic development organizations, but most economic development organizations aren't in Bedford County either.
Roger that. Here you go. Here you guys go, leading the way again. And I'm sure that once its initiative's well on its way, you guys will be benchmarked from other counties coming in here.
Absolutely, and that's what we've been trying to do as well. We've been taking copious notes along the way and meeting with some folks at the state level, because we do want to establish that if your economic development organization wants to really embrace agriculture, what does that look like? We want to be the beacon. We want to be the the light on the hill. We want to be the model for what does that look like. That's just who we are, and that's the way we try to operate. Is we always try to operate at a very high level.
Well, we want to congratulate you guys on this initiative and encourage that. I mean, we have so many what's termed century farms. In other words, farms have been in families for over 100 years. We don't have just 2 or 3 here. We have a lot of them here. I mean, the history and of agriculture in Bedford County is certainly. I can understand seeing that's number one in the state in many things. Just drive out in the country, folks, like I do on patrol at the Sheriff's Department. You'll see all the agriculture out there, and it kind of reminds me of things like people talk about, like the broadband initiative, to bring broadband to the rural areas, and I know there's a goal to make this the first rural county to be fully broadband capable. And I think some folks don't realize the technology that goes into agriculture nowadays, and there's a need for that broadband capability by our farmers and folks working agriculture issues out in the county.
Yeah, Scott, whether it's broadband or economic development, we have to make sure that we're being inclusive, and inclusive in this context means that we're making sure that we're assisting everybody. We want to make sure that we include everybody in the growth and prosperity. A lot of times you may have successes, but everybody doesn't participate, and what we want to make sure that we do is that we give everyone an opportunity to participate as much as we can. Now, some people will choose not to, but we want to make sure that
they have the opportunity to. Not everybody answers the door when opportunity knocks. That's okay, but you want to at least give them the opportunity to participate. And what a great initiative. And the first time I'd heard about that, it's just one of those things that resonates. You know what I mean? When you first hear it, and you go, I wonder why other folks aren't doing this. And I'm sure somebody is somewhere, but you just don't hear about it that much. So I'm glad you guys are focused on that. We'll look forward to hearing good things in economic development involving our agribusiness here, agritourism, whatever else is going on. And congratulations on being able to do that. And I know you guys are working in partnership with some ag-oriented businesses, correct?
Correct. That's been one of the things that we wanted to make sure as we rolled out this initiative, and as we start to be more ag inclusive in everything that we do. We have reached out to some professionals in the area of agriculture to make sure that we are doing things that will be helpful, and making sure that the steps that we are taking are going to be the most impactful steps. We're going to have to ease into this, because this is not an area where it is the roadmap is already.
It's kind of like plowing new ground, so to speak.
I had to reach out to some much older economic development organizations for some ideas and for some concepts and some things that we wanted to immediately do to make sure that there would not be some unintended consequences for those actions. But we feel good about where we are and our inclusivity for agriculture.
Outstanding. I know folks in that community will be excited about and waiting with anticipation of what you guys are going to come out with. What else you want to talk about today, Shane, in the area of economic development?
Well, some people say, well, Shane, how does economic development become part of agriculture, or how does agriculture become part of economic development? Yeah. Actually, it's all one and the same. Economic development is just taking the businesses that you already have and seeing what you can do to help supplement them, put them in a position to be more successful. For example, if you have a restaurant, or if you have a company that is going to sell a lot of, let's use, for example, beef, then how do we make sure that our local beef farmers that are involved in that portion of agriculture, how do we tie them back into, we've recruited a restaurant, or we've recruited some other type of business that needs that beef? How do we tie those local farmers into the success of that recruitment? And that's simple. That's simply the way that you have to look at it. And as far as economic development is concerned, one of the things that we looked at, is, in economic development, there's a concept called clustering. And what clustering means is you look around and you see, what do we have a lot of, and how do we bring more of that in? For example, we are number one, as I mentioned, in livestock, poultry, and products. Well, from an economic development side, how many research and development opportunities are there? How many companies actually have a research and development division? How many of these companies that are involved in livestock, poultry, and products, how many of them have a home office or a divisional office or soil science offices? Is there an opportunity to get them into Bedford County and closer to the number one rankings of these individual pieces? Let's take livestock, for example. There's a lot of things that go into livestock, whether it's feeding livestock, caring for livestock. Okay, and the companies that do that, the companies that produce those products, what is our opportunity to go out and talk to those companies about bringing their home office here? And the reason you want to look at a home office, for example, is because the pay scale tends to be higher in research and development and home office jobs than some of your other jobs that are involved in that same industry or with that same company. So you want to look out and you want to say, okay, we have a lot of people that are in poultry here. Well, what is Bedford County's opportunities to recruit the home office of one of these poultry operations? Whether it's whatever aspect of poultry it is, what are our opportunities? And somebody may say, well, I don't see any of those here, and that's exactly the point. What is our opportunity to go out, have the conversations with them, and say, hey, look, Bedford County's number one in this. Even if we become number 9 and it is still substantial, why would you not want to be closer to the actual action? If something, I look at all the farm equipment that's here in Bedford County, and I mean, there's some pretty farm equipment that's here in Bedford County. It looks really good. Okay, well, is there an opportunity to make that here? Is there an opportunity to have a facility here in Bedford County that makes that farm equipment? Is there an opportunity, because things aren't made the same way today as they used to be made 10 years ago or 50 years ago or 20 years ago. So somebody is doing research and development on that farm equipment. Is there an opportunity to bring those people to Bedford County and have those people with those higher paying jobs as part of our community? And therefore give our people more opportunities to have a higher income level.
Folks, we're talking to Shane Hooper, the president and CEO of the Shelbyville Bedford County Partnership, Economic Development, speaking about things that are near and dear to most of our hearts, which is agriculture and agricultural development here in Bedford County, and making that part of economic development out of his offices here. We're going to take a 60-second break, and we're going to be right back.
Isn't it time you had a good night's sleep? People at their best get their beauty rest with a personalized Simmons Beauty Rest sleep experience from Kincaid's, who's always been your hometown source for top-notch customer care. From inner spring and plush to the luxurious Beauty Rest Harmony Collection, featuring pocketed coil technology designed to restore your sleep with individualized support. Call Kincaid's at 931-684-5662 and get your beauty rest with impressive selection of Simmons Beauty Rest mattresses today.
At Dr. Hasty Family Eye Care, they strive to bring you excellence. Their family-friendly atmosphere makes going to the doctor a breeze. They provide their patients with in-depth eye exams with same-day glasses, a wide selection of name-brand frames like Ray-Ban, Versace, Coach, and more. They also have contact lenses and are able to treat ocular diseases and eye injuries. Need an eye exam? Trust Dr. Hasty and Family Eye Care, located at 605 North Main Street in Shelbyville, directly across from the U.S. Post Office, 931-684-2020.
Folks, this is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting. We went to the 60-second commercial break. We're talking with, and we're back now, of course, and we're talking to the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership President and CEO, Shane Hooper, about a fantastic initiative they have there dealing with agriculture and that industry here in Bedford County. And basically, that's our focus of our whole program today, is agriculture and developing agriculture and economic development here, agritourism. And I noticed on your list here, Shane, you got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about here, so we'll let you press on.
Okay. So we've already talked about how does ag get implemented into economic development, and sometimes people think of economic development strictly as recruiting new businesses, and it is, and that is part of what the partnership does. But the partnership is also involved in workforce development. How does ag fit into workforce development? Well, 53%, Scott, of our children that graduate from high school, those students go directly into the workforce. So if those students are going directly into the workforce, there is a lot of ag ag jobs here in Bedford County, because Bedford County is the #1 ag county in the state of Tennessee. So if they're going to graduate and we have so many jobs in ag, or ag presents such an opportunity, how many of our high school students are hearing about the opportunities in ag? How many of them know about it? So part of what we want to do in our agricultural initiative is to make sure that, for example, when we have the high school job fair, which is right before graduation, we want to make sure that ag is part of that high school job fair. We want to make sure that we have representatives from the ag community that are there to talk to the students, and, you know, if nothing else, just be there so that the students can see that, yes, hey, I saw a really nice lady or a really nice guy today that spoke my language, that really talked about things that I like to do, which is agriculture. And, you know, even if they don't get a job from that person, they see the possibilities of ag, and they see, you know, it's that mentorship, it's that examples that you can see that will plant the seeds in children's heads about, hey, there is an opportunity for me and what I want to do. And then let's go to the 8th grade career fair, which is also part of what the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership does. In our 8th grade career fair, as children, as students, are preparing to decide what classes they want to take going forward in their high school career, we want to make sure that we have ag representation there at the 8th grade career fair so that the kids can see, hey, this is an opportunity for me. You know, and then we also have the Icon program. The Icon program is a totally different subject that could be a whole show, but that's an opportunity for people to hire students and have grants that will pay for those students to work for you, and we need to incorporate more agricultural jobs into the Icon program, because it gives those high schoolers an opportunity to work in ag, see ag, be affiliated with agriculture, and know about agricultural opportunities out there. That's the workforce development piece. You want to go into the tourism piece next?
Well, and you know, and I'll make one short comment, because I know you guys work very closely with the Bedford County school system and their career technical education, or the old VOTEC programs for us old people, right? They've added ag programs to their CTE programs as well. So it's just it's a whole team effort, right?
Yes. Like I've said before, Scott, economic development was, and always will be a team sport. We enjoy a great working relationship with Bedford County school system. They are very supportive of the agricultural community. They are very supportive of the partnership, because they realize that it takes all of us working together to make an impact on what happens in people's lives. Because I will continue to say this, if we can get people a job, then dads can be dads, mom can be mom, and they can take care of their children. They can afford to go out and buy a house. They can afford to buy a new car. They can afford to get loans from the bank. They can afford to do the things that make our local economy successful. And that's what the partnership is all about, is growing the community in a way that's sustainable and in a way that helps us all be a better community and live in a better place.
Moving on to agritourism, do you want to explain to our listening audience a little bit about what is agritourism?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we know, but...
Yeah, you will find things in agritourism like animal therapy, farm animal tours, row crop tours. There is, you know, as we see more and more tour buses, for example, out at the Nearest Green Distillery, when they bring in tour buses, how many of those tour buses would be interested in taking that load of people out to a farm to see a citrus farm, which, by the way, we do have one here in Bedford County? How many of those buses would be interested, once they leave Nearest Green, to go see row crops? You know, there's a lot of people.
Go see where the corn comes from that makes the whiskey.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Exactly. And understand that corn does not come out of the grocery store. Corn came out of somebody's farm first. So, you know, and not only...
It just doesn't magically appear.
Yeah, it just doesn't magically appear. But there are all kinds of opportunities to include agriculture into tourism and make sure... And some people may say, well, Shane, how does that really help a farmer? Well, when you can bring a busload of folks out to the farm, for those farmers that want to do this, and you have another revenue source. You have passive income, where you can have people that drive by your farm, look at your farm, and say, hey, look, this was very interesting. A whole busload of folks. It makes a difference, and not to mention that income, that extra income, can really help a farm.
Absolutely. What a great idea. And you kind of see where everything comes from. Because a lot of folks, especially from city folks, don't know that, Shane. I mean, seriously, I like your analogy. It just shows up in the grocery store, right? Moving on agritourism, or moving on to the promotion of that.
Yes, so that's another part of what the partnership will be involved in this whole agritourism piece, is that we've got to help people understand that when they come here, we've got to reach out to the tour bus companies. We've got to reach out to those people that are putting together tours in Nashville and other places. We've also got to work with our local folks that are bringing tours in here to help them understand that, okay, this farm has agreed that during these hours you can bring a busload of folks by if you coordinate it. So there's plenty of opportunities to make this part of the revenue stream for a farm, to make this more part of what's going on in this county and help people be successful and make sure that everyone is participating in the economic successes of Shelbyville and Bedford County.
And I think that's one of the, when you mentioned that, I call that being a facilitator, bringing folks together, whatever you want to call it, and that's one of the huge strengths of the partnership, is being able to bring folks together, because there's so many disparate parts that are actually related, and they need to be brought together, and someone needs to do that, and that's what you guys are chartered to do.
And that's what we're chartered to do. And the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership, being a 501c6, is uniquely positioned because we are public and because we are private. We have the ability to reach out to both sides and bring everybody together and do a lot of facilitating, like what you talked about, and be able to be nimble in that process. That's the purpose of the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership. That's what the partnership is all about, is putting the right people in the room together to make things happen.
Now, of course, the Chamber of Commerce now is a committee under the partnership now, and I guess my question on that will be, how will the Chamber of Commerce fit into this promotion of agriculture and economic development?
There are a lot of opportunities, Scott, to have our chamber more involved in agriculture as well. For example, helping companies or helping businesses that want to be involved in agriculture. How do they get more involved? How do they participate more? I was amazed to find that we had some farmers, quite frankly, that didn't know about our local farmers market and when it was and everything that it did and how they can participate. So we want to make sure that our Chamber of Commerce is available to agriculture, agribusiness, and make sure that we are in a position to help facilitate that move for them to be more involved, like I said, in the economic development successes of Shelbyville and Bedford.
Because the Chamber kind of works at the retail level on a lot of things.
Correct. They work at the retail level with a lot of things, but it is also important that we work with all businesses, not just retail businesses, but with farm, because farming is a business. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that we are reaching out.
Well, they can have retail too. Exactly. Farmers market's a prime example.
Exactly. So, and one of the things that I do want to point out, a prime example of what we're trying to accomplish here, we have a quarterly luncheon on June. The Chamber's having a quarterly luncheon on June the 30th at 11:30 at the Fly Arts Center, and that quarterly luncheon is sponsored by First Community Bank. We enjoy the relationship we have with First Community Bank and all that they do for this community. But for example, Joe Huffine, who is part of Co-op, is going to be our speaker that day, and he's going to talk about the impact of agriculture on this community and what agriculture brings to the table in this community. And he's also going to talk about some ways that the partnership, some of the ideas that we have that we can implement to make agriculture a more thriving part of economic development successes and make it more part of what we can do with the Chamber, with tourism, with workforce development, with economic development, part of the foundation as well. So we're looking forward to hearing from Joe Huffines that day.
So, and he's from, I guess, what we'll call Big Co-op. I mean, folks know about the Co-op. I guess most people do. That's located out on South Cannon Boulevard, helping our farmers out and providing a lot of products out there that they need. And then one step up is kind of what I call the umbrella, the Big Co-op. And so you guys are working in partnership with them.
Correct. So Joe Huffine is the CEO of what's called Protrition. Protrition is part of the Co-op umbrella, and we're looking forward to hearing from him that day.
Outstanding. That's a great way to kick this thing off. Working with Co-op. Let's see, the foundation. How's a foundation? First of all, kind of explain very briefly just remind our listeners what the foundation is. That's another 501c that's tied to the partnership. But
Yeah,
What's the purpose
so
of
the foundation is a true 501c3. It is a nonprofit organization. You can give to the foundation and support its projects, just like if you wanted to give to United Way, Red Cross, or whoever else, any other 501c3. You get.
Well, I know a lot of times you used I don't know if you'll call them scholarships, grants, or working with the school system and teachers. That's a big part of what the foundation does, right? Right. Okay. I just want to let the listening audience kind of know.
Yeah. So the mission for the foundation is to support education, things that enhance quality of life, and things that enhance quality of place. Quality of place are the things that you have. Quality of life is how you go about enjoying those things. For example, we have the Duck River, that's quality of place. How we go about enjoying that on a canoe trip, for example, is quality of life. But the piece that you're talking about is our support for education through the foundation. Right. We actually provide teachers with grants. We'll have a grant round coming up this fall in the opening school session that will kick off July the 30th with the Bedford County School Kickoff. We will have a round of teacher grants available, and teachers can fill out the grant application, and if there's something that they want for their classroom that may not be in the budget for Bedford County schools as a whole, we're able to step in, raise money, and provide the funds necessary. Because a lot of times you hear about teachers that have to come out of their pocket for things like that, and we want to eliminate that as much as we can and give teachers the resources that they need to be successful in the classroom. So that is how the foundation wants to be involved in agriculture as well, because what we believe is that we can create some projects. We already know about some projects that we're going to be involved in that are going to support agriculture inside Bedford County school system. So that's how the foundation will be involved in agriculture.
Outstanding. What about as far as initiatives? And we got a couple of minutes left, Shane, before we go off the air. Talk a little bit about communications.
So one of the things, just like this show today, and we appreciate the opportunity from WLIJ and Hopkins Farm Broadcasting to be able to share with the listening audience and communicate the things that are going on in Shelbyville and Bedford that the partnership is involved in. We think it's very important to do that. I was astounded at the number of people that didn't know Bedford County, for right now, is ranked the #1 agriculture county in the state of Tennessee out of the 95 counties. That is a huge that is a huge compliment to Bedford County and what goes on here. So we want to make sure that in our communications we constantly talk about the impact on this county of agriculture. We want to make sure that there are some new rankings that are going to come out. We want to share what those new rankings when they come out. We want to share what that looks like to the rest of Bedford County. And we also know that inside our schools, again, for example, Future Farmers of America, FFA, and 4-H are a big part of what goes on here in Bedford County with the school system, and we want to be supportive of that as well. And we want to talk about the accomplishments of FFA. We want to talk about the accomplishments of 4-H so that more people will understand the important role of agriculture in Bedford County.
I think it's fantastic working with FFA and 4-H. Those are very large programs in our schools here, especially in Bedford County, and what a great opportunity to promote that right here. They've been around a long time. I remember them guys. When I was in school back in the day, I probably should have belonged because we had about 100 head of cattle we were trying to work back in the day. I just thought it was work, but anyhow, well, good deal. Shane, we are out of time. Is there anything else you want to mention before we go off the air?
No, we just appreciate Bedford County Commissioners came along to support the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership another year. This year, we want to give a shout out to the Bedford County Commission for doing that. The Shelbyville Bedford Partnership supports economic development, workforce development, tourism, the Chamber of Commerce, communications, and we actually have a foundation that's all working to make Shelbyville and Bedford a better place to live. So we appreciate their support, and we look forward to supporting our citizens, our businesses, and making sure that we can provide a sustainable economy.
Well, Shane, I think I know there's a ton of folks, and of course it's evidenced by how many folks have come to Bedford County to see how you guys do business here in Benchmark, the processes that you use, and folks really appreciate you, and you have a very professional staff there to make this economic workforce development and the foundation and tourism be successful here in Bedford County and to make Bedford County a better place to live and work. So thank you and your staff when you get back there today for doing all those initiatives. Folks, this is Scott Johnson on behalf of Hopkins Farm Broadcasting, the only locally owned radio station here in Bedford County. Until next time.